You're ready.
I'm ready for you. Bring it.
Hold on, I wrote down a bunch of questions. So let me find my little note to myself here. You've worn a number of different hats here in this industry.
I have.
What did you love most about being an agent? What did you love most about when you ran an office?
I think overall, what I love the most are the people, the tapestry of personalities. I find the diversity of people and the personalities and how they come together fascinating. How an agent can impact a client decision-making process and how it all comes together. I love puzzles, and I kind of see all of real estate as this like giant jigsaw puzzle with lots of little pieces, and you've got to figure out how to get it together, and you're working in a team to try to put the puzzle together, and how do you put those parts all together. And each step, you know, whether I was an agent or managing or coaching, it was always trying to like figure out why and how we can do it better each time. I love digging deeper and analyzing that.
Did you just use the word tapestry?
Tapestry, I did. Does that date me somehow? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm like way too intellectual for me.
So, I did say jigsaw puzzle. That's not as intellectual.
You did. Like, what is going on? I am literally, as we speak, looking for my list of questions that I had wrote down. I thought I was so smart being prepared here. Okay, I'll find them in a second. When you, we've talked about earlier about a lot about people being coachable, not being coachable, leveling up your business. Can you give me, you know, from a leadership perspective and a management perspective and a coaching perspective, can you share with me, you know, I guess they ask, you know, a lot of sports coaches, what players do you like to coach?
Yeah.
You know, so let's use the same analogy for you. You know, who are your favorite types of people to coach?
I love new agents. I love a blank slate. I actually like to tell this story, which I don't think I've told you yet, Eric, but my first year in the business, I worked for a small firm before I went to Douglas Elliman, and I actually didn't make $1 my first year in the business. I had clients and I had activity, but something wasn't clicking.
Does that firm still exist?
It does not. Okay. Bellmark Realty.
What was it called?
Bellmark.
Oh, of course. Well,
yeah, Bellmark. Yeah.
Okay.
Many of you remember Bellmark.
Yes.
At the time, they had the best training program in the industry. So I was like, sign me up. And it involved sitting in a conference room with like audio tapes and like a binder of paper. And really after that, they just threw you into the fire. And I didn't know enough to know why I wasn't successful, but I knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I liked it. And I felt like I had it in me, but I had nobody around me helping me get there. And I was introduced to a manager at Douglas Elliman, who still to this day is one of my mentors. And within about 2 months there, I had 6 signed contracts. It was about, wow. I love to identify who that person is, who is there wanting to be successful and feels like they have it, but just needs some type of modeling or coaching around them and support and consistency to help make it happen.
Interesting. Very interesting. Where are some of your more frustrations lied on the people that you've been coaching? You know, you're like, oh my God, I see all that potential in them, but they're just not doing it. Where is the point where the coach makes the difference, but it really is an innate ability? You know, I always tell people, when you switch firms, there's no magic dust at any firm, right? It's really on you.
Yeah.
What are some of those traits you look for?
A curiosity.
You can't, you know, that I always say that you can't teach, right? There are things that have to exist there innate in somebody for you to do what you do best.
Absolutely. I think curiosity, I think a willingness to learn is important. But I feel like my job is to help create that consistency, the accountability, the reliability, the support, the coaching piece, the cheerleader piece. I think that that's missing sometimes. A lot of times you get somebody who is going to be successful, but then they're always taking twists and turns, because if they'll try something and it doesn't work for a month, and they give up to try something else because they heard somebody else did it. And the truth is, if you keep doing things consistently, you'll get tired of my marathon analogies, but it's a little like everything is like training for a marathon, really. And I always try to get my agents that I'm working with to start slowly. I think one of the things that people do is they try to add too much to start with. And if you can't set out one Saturday and decide to run 18 miles. Like, you could, and it's going to hurt and it's going to be painful and you're not going to want to do it again. But if you add, 10% of your mileage every week, you're going to be able to run 18 miles in 3 months. So how do you get there? And it's hard for us to see it, because if you're in it, you don't have that perspective. So you have somebody alongside you helping you decide, okay, this is what I'm going to add this week, and maybe this worked this week, and maybe I feel like I need to adjust it slightly, and how can I step in and help somebody figure out what those adjustments are, so when you set out to run 18 miles, you're ready to go, and not just physically, but mentally too.
That's funny, I say that a lot. This business is truly a marathon and not a sprint.
Absolutely.
And I wish more people knew that, even when they first got into the business.
Yeah.
What do you see? You say when you first got into the business, they threw you in a room.
Literally.
They locked the door and gave you audio tapes. What is the biggest opportunity you see for coaching and training? A lot of agents, since I put out the email on Monday, they asked me what exactly is happening, right? We talk about business development, leveling up, and that's such a broad word. You and I have talked about, obviously, the stages of growth of this, department, of what it really means to support agents from a business development perspective, right? Because that is the bottom line. People say, "Are you happy?" I'm like, "Great, you're happy. Are you making the money you want to make?" Right?
Yeah.
I hate to always run to the bottom line, but I don't care how happy you are. You need to be making the money you want to make to live the life you want to live, right? So, when you look at coaching as a whole, you said a lot when we've had discussions over the past few months that, we're just not going to put together some cookie cutter courses in the classroom. That our industry is so, I don't want to use the word so far behind, but why not? What other industries are doing, what other firms are doing about innovating. What are some of the visions you have for the things we'll be doing in the next few years?
Authenticity is the overused word. I need to find another word and go to the thesaurus. It's like the most used buzzword. So I would say the opportunity to make it a little bit more personable, bespoke, a little bit more about trying to match the agent's personality and their background to what is going to make them successful. Like, what is going to allow you to be your best self, and exploring that on a more personal level. A lot of firms will kind of do it here and there. They'll bring in a Tom Ferry consultant for an afternoon or a few hours. And then, okay, you might pick up one or two things and you might try them, but what are you doing over the long term? How are you engaging that conversation with consistency and reliability, high touch, interactive, and intelligent? And I feel like that's what's missing, is some of the soul behind it. And then also thinking outside of real estate. I actually almost prefer a lot of the coaching and thought process around building business and personal growth outside of real estate, because we all have lives outside of real estate, and how we can create synergies between that. Like, I am obsessed with these crazy ultra marathoners who run up and down these giant hills for 3 days and kind of operate on the Navy SEAL training model. And what can we learn from that in terms of consistency, accountability, and goal setting?
Wow. Okay. That was very succinct. No, it's funny because I'm just to give some color on that. We've Susan and I have talked a lot about, we're not going to have this one size fits all, right? We're not going to have the staple easy button that a lot of firms say. They go, oh, go into Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with these programs whatsoever.
They're great. They're great programs, and they work for some people.
Yeah, they work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But bespoke is a great word, right? How can we really dig in deep? We're not going to have 20,000 agents, let alone 10,000 agents. How can we make it more bespoke for the individual to ensure that we are connecting with them? And I think you even said on a very personal level.
And I think adding on to that, and one of the reasons I was drawn here was our conversations with you, with Molly, with David, with Philip about how we're all on the same page with that concept. And I don't think that's the case elsewhere. And we're nimble and the right size to be able to implement it. Where if you're, you might have a giant firm and a few people are on board with it, but here I feel like we're all on board with it. And I think it gives us an opportunity to really build something interesting.
Awesome. Come on, let's be honest. You came here in spite of the fact that I'm here. A lot of agents over the years say accountability, system, structure, like these are evil words, right? I came into the real estate business for freedom.
Yeah.
Right? And freedom's not necessarily a great thing, particularly without systems and accountability and structure. What do you say to those agents that go, because you're going to have a lot of them, right? Even the great ones, the ones that are making a fortune of money go, God, I really struggle with systems and accountability and structure and consistency. I think you said it before. You used that word, which is critical. How are we going to help those people create more structure into their business?
I think it's a really interesting question. And I think it goes back to the bespoke. Not every system is going to work for everybody. How are we matching people in a workshop together who have a similar style of accountability, and how can they support each other? Or, not everybody is going to want to use the same tool or use the same tool in the same way. So I think that's another place where we can break down a little bit of those barriers, where this is what you should do, into what is going to work best for you, and going through that process of exploring what's going to work best for you. And maybe you're going to try a few new things and step out of your comfort zone a little bit, which I think is also really important in growing your business. And being in sales, stepping out of your comfort zone is probably one of the most key things to do, is try it. How do you know? Like, I always think, I'm not the most structured person in that way either, but I know that there are certain ways that I can keep that structure. So I figured out what works for me, and I think just going through that process to help people figure out what that is.
Yeah, I think you're going to be a little bit more gentle than me as well.
Yeah, we'll be the yin and yang.
Forcing people out of their comfort zone versus you will gently lead them.
It's important. You got to have both, because some people need to be literally kicked out of their comfort zone, and some people need some coaxing out of the comfort zone. I always need to be coaxed a little out of my comfort zone. So
people that know you best are going to say what? Susan is?
I am passionate when I want to learn something and figure something out. I am all in 1,000%. Professionally, of course, and I could go down that path, but I don't know, I started baking cakes for my nephews a few years ago for their birthdays, and they started off as these cute little things. And now I've watched all these YouTube videos and collected all these supplies, and I make these extravagant cakes. I just like to learn things and master them and figure them out. And a lot of my friends rely on me for a resource for that, because I'll usually try to come up with some type of solution for something.
Interesting. So basically, when we could finally get our butts back into the office, and
I will bake cake.
We do monthly birthday celebrations. Bill's going to love you, so we don't no longer need to buy cakes for people's birthdays. Susan will
take a lot.
You'll be baking cakes monthly.
Honestly, if I could figure out a way to be successful and make money and live on decorating cakes, I probably would do that. But I love real estate too much.
Complete this sentence. I have no tolerance for
ignorance.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
Define what you mean by ignorance.
hard without getting into politics at the moment,
Yeah,
but
please don't.
I'm not going to. I think a lack of willingness to learn, or a lack of willingness to explore, and see something from somebody else's perspective.
Okay.
I think you always have something to learn from everybody. And if you close yourself off to that, I think that you're missing out on a lot.
I'm hearing a click here. Willful ignorance is what.
Oh, that's a good one. Willful ignorance.
Okay. What the people listening here, obviously thank all of you for joining us, getting to know Susan and really getting a feel for the commitment we're going to continue making to help agents grow their business. It's really that simple. When you talk about, people being self-employed, being entrepreneurs, being the owners of their own business, and why did you take this position? I mean, this is right. You weren't looking for this. We found you. You're very thoughtful. You've been doing this 20 years. Why did you really take this position?
Two reasons. One, I have just been inspired by the work you're doing and the future I see you have going here at Triple Mint. I see the direction the industry is going, and I feel like Triple Mint is very positioned to be a leader in what that is going forward. I think that the last few months have really shifted the industry, and I wanted that change. But the other side of me was it's a challenge. It's an opportunity to be creative and think completely outside of the box and take a lot of that knowledge I've had and put it all together, and thinking about some of my own personal experiences from going from, not being able to run a mile to running a marathon, and to my, start in the real estate business to having a successful career for 20 years. Like how can I take that and repackage it to help somebody else? And that creativity and that shift is what I'm really, really excited about. And going back to like my passion and my yearning to dig deep, I can't wait to do that. Like I've just been sucking up all of this knowledge and collecting documents and podcasts and audio clips and things like that. And I can't wait to figure out, crack that nut basically. Like what is that extra edge that we're gonna provide?
Awesome. You keep talking about marathons. How many marathons have you run?
Only one, but I've run 9 half marathons. 9 half marathons, 2 Spartan races, and a civilian military combine race. So it's basically like 3 Spartan races too. So my second marathon would have been this fall.
Okay, I'm just going to give people a heads up. If they do have any questions, you could throw them in the chat, because we may have 3 to 5 minutes to answer some questions. So please throw them in there if you have any questions or suggestions. Pavel's, I'm looking at the gifts. They're so distracting. That's why I never look. It's like, we'll talk about distractions in our world, right? With the shift in business right now, you said there's a shift in business, and how are you going to coach agents through the whole mental strength that's needed, right? I mean, this is, forget physical strength. This has been a mental game, right? I think people underestimate the mental, I don't even want to use the word anguish, but why not? Yeah. People have been under. So forget not just the agents, but their clients. When you're sitting down with agents and you're helping them be the therapist, more so than ever.
Absolutely.
To their buyers and sellers, can you unwrap that a little bit of what you've been thinking? You said there's been a shift in industry. There's obviously been a shift in climate. We're about to go into the insanity of the election. So from a psychological perspective, what are you telling agents to do with their clients today?
I think this is the best time in the time that I've been in real estate to be a real estate broker. I think that we have an opportunity to provide value in a way that has always, agents often don't see themselves as professionals who provide value. And that's something I'm also going to talk about a lot, because I think what we do is an extremely valuable role that we can play in people's lives. And the more we can respect that, the more successful I think we can be. And I think right now our role is, like you said, therapist. How do you guide a client through the process of making an offer when there's no data to benchmark that number? Like, how are you going to have those conversations, and what do they look like? And they need you to do that. They need you to give them that kind of perspective and conversation. And I think that a well-educated, a well-trained, a confident agent, a smart agent is going to be better at being able to work with their clients through what's probably going to be their most difficult decision, to make a big purchase or a big sale or a big life decision about moving or leaving the city or coming back to the city. You know, I think about after the financial crisis and everybody was so petrified of what was going to happen. And that was the year I had my best year, because I felt like I had the most to offer, you know, in a good market.
Hold on, unwrap that a little bit.
Yeah.
You had your best year after the financial crisis because you had the most to offer. Can we dig a little deeper there?
I felt like my value was the greatest. You know, in a market where everything is trading so quickly, you put a listing up, the listing sells. You could put it at any price and you're going to get 10 offers because the market is so active. It's a lot easier, right? But it's harder right now. Like, it's harder to know the right things to say to your client, like to think about what's going to happen in the next 3 months. Should you sell now or should you sell in 3 months? Well, how do you have that conversation, and how do you really get to more than just, should I sell now or in 3 months, but really having that conversation with your seller about their life and where they're at and what the pros and cons, and being able to be in that position to be that trusted advisor is more valuable than it has ever been.
So in chaos comes opportunity. I hate to say
Absolutely.
it. Yeah. But it's true. And the funny thing is, you're not just saying that. You know, I'll tell you right now, one of the reasons I fell in love with Susan during the dating process is that you're just not saying that.
No.
Right? You actually believe it.
Yeah.
You know, I can promise you right now, for everyone listening, we're not going to be one of those companies that's going to be, and for many of you that know me, we're not going to be blind rah-rah. This is the greatest time to be in real estate, particularly if we don't feel we mean it. So, you know, the reason.
Good thing on balancing reality and positivity. And I think the combination together is really, really important. You can't, not everything is positive, but you can be positive about the reality.
That's an amazing tip for any salesperson, right? You know, because you could say, is now a great time to buy? Of course it's a great time to buy. But, you know, how do you balance reality with positivity?
Yeah.
Wow, we could do a whole class. That's a great class.
Well, I'm going to make a note of that.
No, make a note of that. There are a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
John, Shelley said a couple of the same things. Thank you guys for posing that question, because I've been getting that question a lot. You know, what's next? Group sessions, individual sessions, weekly. Yeah. Everybody's got to chill out. She's just got here.
Well, I'm eager to learn from you all. So I am eager to set up conversations and, you know, a half-hour virtual coffee to talk, because I am curious. You know, part of getting to know Tripleman is to know, like, what your successes have been so far, and what are the gaps you've had in learning, or the things that have been great that Tripleman has offered, so that we can evaluate and make sure that we're growing and changing and evolving. So, like, please reach out to me. I am happy to chat one-on-one in a group or whatever is appropriate.
You know, it's funny, you just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, John and Shelley, please, you know, you guys have both been doing this a while, and you both have an opinion that's valued. So
yeah,
anything. And by the way, it's anything outside the box. We're going to experiment here. This is not just like, let's put these classes together. You know, we're going to really experiment, you know, and once again, it's not going to be, most importantly, a one-size-fits-all, right? People transferring from rentals to sales need a completely different type of conversation than someone looking to level up from 300 to 500, and someone looking to level up from, you know, 800 to 1 million to 2 million. and or what stage they're at in regards to, someone posted a question right now about building teams and leveraging teams. Just give us a quick, we only have a couple seconds left, but I really hope everybody heard Susan. She meant it. Please ping her.
Please,
for some coffee meetings. We're going. This is not going to be a one size fits all, and we are going to listen, really, really listen to you about what your needs are. And once again, we're not saying these other coaching programs out there are not fantastic, but if we could create a whole new recipe and take the best things from the people that are even doing it now and make it our own. Sometimes you don't need to completely reinvent the wheel.
Right. You just need to repackage it or paint it. I don't know. Like some analogies. I don't know. Maybe not.
What are your thoughts on teams? It's such a buzzword today, right? We talk about it a lot internally. Oh, I'm joining a team. Oh, I'm starting a team. Oh, I'm joining a team. Oh, I'm starting a team. You've seen, God knows, the multiple versions that have been complete disasters over the past 20 years of the comings and goings. So why don't we just give us your thought on teams in general?
Fun fact, I created one of the first teams at Douglas Elliman a long time ago. We had a huge sponsor project, and both myself and the other broker were like, what are you going to do? We have like 50 new listings. Like, what do we do? And teams really didn't exist in New York City. And it probably took us 20 different tries to figure out the right way to do it. And I think the key, I love teams. I think teams are fantastic. It's a way to generate business.
Are you basically saying you're the reason teams exist in New York City?
No, definitely not. But we used to have to go into the accounting department to figure out how to get paid because nobody figured out could understand what the concept of a team was at the time.
Very funny.
But I think, again, it comes back to like what works for you. I think teams are great because I think that any successful agent is probably leaving business on the table somewhere, whether it's open house traffic or, small leads or rental leads, lower price listings, lower price buyers, maybe some people who are not buying for a year and a half. So they just need somebody to work with them in the shorter term to get that up and running. So the idea of being able to capture more business with a team is exciting, but I think teams can look different for everybody. And I think that goes back to the whole idea of bespoke, what works best. There's probably best practices, right? How does a team work together? And I really want to have some support in that regard. Like, how do you function as a team leader? And how are you guys all interacting as your own business together? Will be another path we'll do in teaching and coaching. Teams are great.
But there's a bottom line, capture more business, which I think people lose sight over, right? I mean, unraveling that, just like a last thought, right? If your goal is that you are, as a team leader, doing enough business on your own where there are holes in what you're capturing. Yeah. So, I mean, the team should dramatically increase your efficiency. Right.
And it's also a good opportunity for somebody to learn alongside a broker who is experienced and highly successful. So there is not just the business part of it, but the mentorship part of it, and how can what that can look like. Okay,
we're going to do a lot more on teams. Susan, you are an amazing person, an amazing individual. I'm so happy that you're here.
Me too. Thank you.
This 30 minutes flew by, but in all seriousness, we can't reinforce enough. Your feedback is critical. We're going to be listening. We're going to be listening even as we try things, what's working, what's not working.
Definitely.
We're not just going to put out content for the sake of putting out content. So, Susan, I am so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that the company.
Thank you. Thanks for joining in, everybody.
So, thank you for joining us. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day.
Wednesday.
Happy Phase 3. I think we're Phase 3 this week.
We are. Without eating inside restaurants, Phase 3. Right. So you can go get a tattoo and a pedicure.
Tattoos and pedicures. What's better? Yeah. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.